Yes, my friends, welcome back. Two stories today. We discuss our first plans to kickstarting this multi-club network, as reports suggest that we are close to acquiring a club from the Portuguese League and the French League as well too. And to end things, we discuss Ruben Loftus Cheek, because it seems like this summer is set to become his final summer as a Chelsea player, as AC Milan are hoping to sign him for next season. So my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Share your thoughts and opinions. Hit that like button as well too. And apologies for not being here the past few days because I've been a bit ill. Like, my nose is still completely blocked up, my sore throat. Recordings I was doing was absolutely dead. So I just couldn't really do it with the right type of energy. And I'm still not perfect right now, but I'm a little bit better to give you guys something for today. So I hope you guys enjoy. And without wasting any more time. So right now, let's start with things. Let's tackle the latest news around this multi-club network we're hoping to build. In today's report, we'll focus on two clubs. That's RC Strasbourg of Ligue 1 and that's Portimonense of the Portuguese League. So let's start off by discussing the latest news around RC Strasbourg first, because as The Guardian reports, it states that we are close to acquiring stake in RC Strasbourg, and it seems like the final price that we'll agree upon to buy stake from Strasbourg, and it does seem like the final price is fully dependent on whether Strasbourg are able to avoid relegation from Ligue 1 this season. Now, one of the main reasons why we turned our attention to RC Strasbourg was that originally we made an offer to Bordeaux, but that was swiftly turned down. We held discussions with Lyon as well too, but to be fair with you, I don't see why Lyon would be keen on doing a partnership like that, considering all the top talents that they're regularly supplying to all the biggest clubs across Europe. It doesn't make any sense to actually work with them. So it seems like they've settled on RC Strasbourg, and that's for good reason. I mean, recently, there have been some notable players that have graduated from their academy. You're looking at Simicon, who's currently now at RB Leipzig, and seems like he could be going to Arsenal for next season. You're looking at Youssouf Fofana, who's now playing for Monaco, that was in the French national team during the World Cup. And you're looking at their current prospect this season in Habib Diarra. I think he's like 18, 19 years old. Another guy is like Anthony Cassie, the fullback who's now currently playing in the Bundesliga for Mainz. So, you know, their academy does have some pedigree. They do produce good players. Strasbourg aren't the only club that we're hoping to purchase to really start to, kick off these plans to build this multi-club network. Currently, Portimonense of Portuguese Football, they are the next club we're hoping to acquire, but they could be quite difficult to reach like a final price with. Now recently, Portimonense turned down an offer from us, and that offer was believed to be around 40 million euros, which would allow us to buy around 75% controlling stake in that club. We really want to enter deep into the Portuguese market. We really want to acquire a Portuguese club, and currently it does seem like we are ready to go back again to try and buy Portimonense by increasing our original offer. And we're looking to turn to the influence of Jorge Mendes, a guy that is renowned in Portuguese football, that has, his fingers in every pie in that league. He'll help us acquire Portimonense, and if we can't find a deal with them, then he'll help us find different solutions in the Portuguese market. So before I give my thoughts and opinions, one of the main reasons as to why we want to build this multi-club network is not only to allow our young guys to get exposure to first team football elsewhere, but it's also to dip our toes into different markets to really get like a better understanding of the quality of youth intakes coming through every single year. I think in Portugal, they're renowned for developing some of the best young players in Europe. And it's the same thing in French football as well too. So for me, it makes a lot of sense that you want to target a feeder club from either one of these leagues. And I guess I give my thoughts and opinions now, and of course you guys know I'm fully here for this. I think we used to kind of benefit from something similar when, of course, we had a stronger partnership with Vitesse Arnhem. Guys like Mason Mount, Armando Broja, Solanke, and a few other names too that aren't coming to me at the top of my head, had great successes whilst playing for them. And that combination of getting introductions to, life as a professional was very key. Like, there were many extracts of Mason Mount at the time talking about how he had to rethink his diet. He had to rethink how he was, allowing his body to recover after sessions, but allow him to keep playing football at a very high and intense level. And I think a lot of these times when guys around the age of like 17, 18, 19, I kind of think the problem that we've seen before is that, it can be quite hard to find loan spells for all your high value youth every single time, and normally you're at the mercy of the loan club. Like, I think one famous example was Jeremy Boga. I remember one season he had at Birmingham City, where during that season they had 4 different managers. So whatever original deal you agreed upon at the start of that loan spell became a completely different thing based on how, crazy things were behind the scenes at Birmingham City. And, at this level, if you have 1 season or 2 seasons of wasteful years, that's going to impact and affect your development. Like, I remember quotes from Riyad Mahrez saying that if only he had signed for Man City like 2 years earlier, he'd be an even better player now if he had 2 years training under Pep Guardiola. And that type of principle applies throughout the game. So, we need to move away from kind of like impacting the progression of our young guys, because, guys like a Harvey Vell, for example, and others shouldn't be here at 19 or 20 years old anymore. I think that for the top guys, from 17 years old, they need exposure to first team football instantly. I think a Charlie Webster could easily be playing in a division somewhere, and if he wasn't from our academy, he would be playing first team football for many clubs across Europe outside of that like top 10 category. So this is the right move for us. I hope we get things done quite soon, and I'm really hoping that before next season opens up, we're doing the same thing. I'm looking at guys like Fofana. I think if he was to go to Strasbourg now, that could be good for them. I know Kevin Gamero is getting quite old. They need reinforcement. And for a club of that stature, gain access to like top quality young guys that will probably be with you for at least like 2 years minimum, gives you that sense of stability, which then allows you to compete more and of course earn more money. So it's like a mutually beneficial agreement for everyone. And in the case of Portimonense, I'll give you guys a story. So like every time I've played FM, I'm always getting my feeder club personally from Portuguese football. And my mindset was always this: what makes the Portuguese league so special? Why is it a league where like all the top clubs across the world are constantly like forking out millions and millions and millions signing prospects and talents from that league? It's not like it's a very competitive league, right? I think there's only like 4-5 clubs max that challenge for European sports. Only like 2 to 3 every season that actually challenge to win the league. But after like watching Portuguese football, for me, I think this is the thing that stood out for me. It's a league that does encourage attacking football, because you have to see it like this: what could ultimately separate you from your rivals claiming those European spots, winning the title, is going to be goals. Because if you're playing against lots of teams that are under the level that you're at, you have to score a few goals against them, of course, to be able to get one over your other rivals around you. And I kind of feel like this is a league that encourages positive football. And if you're a young guy that is building that confidence to like improve your attacking traits, your attacking game, take responsibility in game, etc., etc., that's going to make you a better player in the future. And I think it's those types of translatable qualities, which means that a lot of guys that do leave Benfica's, Lisbon's, Braga's, Porto's, are able to play with the big boys in the biggest leagues across the world. So if we're able to capture a smaller club in that league that would allow us to blood like our top teen talents, that could be beneficial for us in the future, because there's a lot of guys that have interest and question marks around them, right? You're looking at guys like TODD Mendel Idowu. I mean, this guy looks like a phenomenal winger, phenomenal skills, and ideally he should be getting exposure to first team football next season. And for me, we should still own the guy. So we can find an agreement with the club. Let's say he was playing his football in the Portuguese league for the next 2 years. That's going to help him a lot when it comes to developing his game and getting used to life at the top leagues. Same thing for guys like Webster, Derek Abu, Kasade, etc. I do feel like sending our top quality youth prospects out to clubs where we have a relationship with them lets us know that these guys are going to get the right amount of time to develop properly, as long as they're performing to the best of their abilities, of course. So I am fully here for something like this. We should have done this a long time ago. We should have built this up time back, to be fair with you, considering all the investment we've made into signing guys under 21 for like over a decade right now. I feel like we would have a lot more success stories if we had a bit more structural stability, to have a platform for these players to get that game time, to get exposure. And I think in very youth-friendly leagues like Liga and the Portuguese League, I'm liking the thinking and mindset. Let's now hope that we can secure these types of deals up, yeah? So they're my thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions too behind this feeder club type of model. Do you think this is the right thing to do? Is this a waste of time? What type of clubs do you want to see? And who are like the young prospects that we own that you're hoping can benefit from a potential system like this? Let us know below. So I guess right now, we end things by discussing the final story today, and we talk Ruben Loftus Cheek. Now, apologies to you guys, sorry. Before I was recording this video, I already wiped away all the tears when I was recording. But you know what? I guess this was bound to happen, right? Before I share my thoughts and opinions on Mr. Loftus Cheek, of course, let's break down the stories first. And as reported by Matt Law, Romano, and all the big publications and outlets, currently Ruben is in concrete talks with AC Milan. Now, reports state that Milan see Ruben as a priority to help them rebuild their midfield. And since losing Frank Kessie to Barcelona, they've not had a profile like this in their midfield, and they feel like they've paid the price for not having one for this season. Now, Milan have had long-term interest in Ruben, and that really kick-started during his performances against them during the earlier stages in this year's group stages in the Champions League. And at this point in time, it does seem like the feelings that Milan have for Ruben are being reciprocated back. Romano reports that negotiations are going along quite well at this point in time, but in terms of that final price fee, we reportedly want around 25 million euros, and that is a figure that Milan just don't want to pay. Why? Because Ruben has 1 year left in his deal. And for a club like Milan, and for nearly every club we're going to hope to do business with, every club knows that we are desperate to sell, that we have to actually sell. So that means that we don't have as much bargaining power anymore. That's just the reality of things. Like, why would you pay the demands we want when you know that if you were to buy your time, you'll probably get the same player for way less? Still, Milan are hoping that their assertive approach to go for Ruben right now is going to help them beat the rest of the pack. Now, currently, Juventus are also looking at Ruben. They see him as a Rabiot replacement, and of course, Sarri has been wanting Ruben now for the past 2 years and wants him to come to Lazio. So right now, Ruben has a lot of clout in Serie A, and even though ideally Ruben prefers to remain here, he has been told that your game time could drop significantly. And if you actually think about it like this too, going to Serie A, kind of just like rebuilding your name there, gaining more prominence, that could probably help you get back into the England national team setup, where we have a Euros coming up literally next year. He has been placed on the transfer list. It seems like Pochettino prefers to work with other candidates and guys at the club instead, like Gallagher, Mason Mount, etc, etc. So for this story in particular, I can understand it, even though, being a fan of the player, which you guys know that I'm not embarrassed to be a fan of Ruben. I think especially after that 18-19 season he had, that's when I was like, right, this guy is a serious baller. And I do think now, in the sense of the direction we're going towards, now that we've invested so much money into young players, I feel like if the club and the manager doesn't see you in their plans anymore, there's no point in wasting your talent. If you're going to be able to rebuild your career again in that sense, even though I think rebuilding your career is not a fair thing to say in my opinion, but obviously we know that there is some uncapped potential left in Ruben. I think there's positives in the sense that he hasn't been breaking down with injuries anymore, just a few small knocks here and there, and if he's able to play in a more offensive role midfield, which it seems like he could do in Serie A, with the types of clubs looking at him and the type of roles that they're hoping that Ruben's going to fulfill for them. In a league like Serie A, where a lot of these teams are using mid-block setups, etc, etc, I do feel like Ruben could find a new lease of life. And of course, he's obviously spoken to Tomori and Olivier Giroud. And Milan has pedigree, it's a historic type of club in a beautiful city as well too. If you can get good money for him, for a guy that has 1 year left in his deal that's earning over 150k a week, I feel like this is probably the right thing to do based on the context of what's happening right now. Now, even though I understand the business reason and the common sense behind why, his sale probably makes sense now, from a personal point of view, obviously I'm a little bit disappointed that he's going. I do think with Ruben's versatility, that ability to play in multiple positions throughout a season, the way that he's added to his game, in terms of tactical intelligence, being able to defend, etc, etc. He has been a very useful player for us, and for all the disrespect he gets, because I guess the Ruben names is not a sexy name anymore, so I kind of feel like it draws a lot of lazy criticisms of him just not being good enough, but then no one can say what he's poor at. And when they do say what he's poor at, it's the vaguest stuff that can apply to anyone and everyone, and it just doesn't land or stick for me. But the reality has shown that he's been one of the most reliable players when he has been turned upon, and to have those types of guys in your squad to kind of understand what their role is, that are committed to you as well, You know, these guys still have their value with you. At the same time, decisions have to be made. Not everyone can be fulfilled when it comes to getting that right game time. And I guess the argument is, should a younger guy miss out on getting more minutes that could benefit him more for right now, considering that we have spent big money on him to make him become that player for the future? So I understand that logic, and I guess this is why I can accept that Ruben, of course, probably has to leave for this season, knowing that he's kind of surpassed the requirements. Anyway, I'm not going to be surprised to hear this guy cooking in Serie A next season, and I'm hoping that before he goes, that I get to see him play on the left-hand side of midfield 3 a few more times. Lampard, make that happen. I've never personally understood why he just lost that role all of a sudden, knowing that he's so effective. I mean, he got an assist in the last game playing there, and he helped kickstart the move that made us win 3-1. 27 years old, he's still in the prime years of his career, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it develops elsewhere now. So my friends, they're my thoughts and opinions. They're the 2 main stories today. Share yours. I'm the EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.